Welcome to the Morning Prep Podcast. We have a minute because the kids haven't started to line up yet. I am your host, Nathan Van. You did it. Winter break. Semester 1 is finally over. What some people would describe as the semester out of the abyss with between COVID and the election and just remote teaching. It just made life significantly more difficult. So, congratulate yourselves. First off, you made it. There were points probably that you did not seem like this, that made it seem as if December would never arrive. But it finally is here. Woo! So no doubt you are wondering, what now? What am I going to do with all this extra time? Well, I am glad that you are here right now because I have an answer for that. But before we get into that, let's just have a word from our sponsor. So thank you for taking a moment just to listen to this little sponsored pitch. What we're going to be focused on for this little ad is something that you may not have heard of, which is Anchor.fm. Now, truth be told, have you had that killer idea for a podcast? Then Anchor.fm is your way to go. So what makes Anchor so good is the fact that it, first and foremost, it is free. That's actually what attracted me to it in the first place, was the fact that it was a zero financial investment. But the second piece is that there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. So if you don't want to fiddle with any sort of like GarageBand or Traction or Waveform or any other recording program like that, I only named the ones that I knew off the top of my head, then you can do it right through the computer, right through your browser. Also, what Anchor likes to do is distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. What also makes it phenomenal is the fact that you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. All right? No minimum. So you can start making money immediately. Now, the thing is that it is everything that you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started. The drink for this week is actually just a delicious cup of coffee. Specifically, this is Intelligentsia, the Frequency Blend. I used to not be a big fan of Intelligentsia. It always tasted a little bit too bitter, and it was really harsh. Like, it had a very unique flavor to it, and it was really harsh. And I realized that the place that I was getting it from just brewed it very poorly, because that was until I started getting my own. This particular blend I actually got as a birthday gift from my good friends Sam and Ben, and it is delicious. So I highly recommend to look for the Intelligentsia Frequency Blend. It's got a very good mellow and nutty flavor, and it is quickly becoming one of my favorite coffees. I'm actually almost done with the bag. I may go out and purchase another bag because it is so good. So yeah, Intelligentsia Frequency Blend. Highly recommend it. So this week's episode is 3 tips to maximize your winter break. And the reason why I chose this title is because, first off, I'm recording this on the last day of school, for my school at least, and I know that many of you are headed out to your winter break. And so I just want to give you all this opportunity to make sure that you are maximizing it. So I've seen teachers typically go in one of two directions when it comes to break times. Some teachers do absolutely nothing. You worked hard, you earned the time. Obviously, it's pretty logical. But on the flip side of that is that some teachers I've seen do this is that they work every single day of the break, even the weekends. And it always boggled my mind personally. And what it tends to happen is that you tend to get a lot more frazzled and just strung out when you come back, and it's as if you had no break. So my 3 tips are pretty simple and pretty straightforward. The first tip is maintain a schedule. And so I say that just because school is out, it does not mean that you should abandon your time. And it makes it a little bit more difficult when you get back. Yes, inevitably we all have to go back, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to get back into the groove of things if you completely eliminate a schedule. I mean, you've gone this far having a daily schedule, maintain it. I mean, the pros to this are pretty clear, at least to me, they're pretty clear. It makes it easy to slide back into that regular schedule once school starts up again. And then also, I think more importantly, because this reminds me of being like a kid during summer break or even a kid during winter break, time doesn't get away from you as easily. It's very easy that you sleep in every single day, that you watch TV or you play video games, or like you focus so intensely on one activity that you end up forgetting to do other things that you want to do. And so if you have a clearer schedule, you're able to actually attend to a lot more things that you really wanted to do. And then like that brings to this third part of it is that you really make sure that you do get to do everything that you want to hope and do. And so that's the first part. To maximize it, just maintain some sort of a schedule. Create a schedule for yourself and keep it up the entire time. Now, the second tip is to take time for yourself. Again, this is very obvious. You've got this time. Like I said, you earned it. You worked hard for it. But make sure that you do it. So self-care is extremely important. That is why I dedicated almost an hour over 2 episodes to talk about self-care, especially as a teacher. I highly recommend that you check them out for just different ways and tips to, again, to take care of yourself, to help maintain that work-life balance, because there are stuff in there that you can do over winter break. So check those out. I believe it's episodes 3 and 5. I had one episode kind of split in the middle. Check out episodes 3 and 5, part 1 and 2 of maintaining a work-life balance. So ask yourself this. Is there a book that you've been wanting to read for a while? Have you been wanting to sleep a little bit more? Are there a few TV shows you want to catch up on? Have you actually been outside? I know in the pandemic, a lot of people are afraid to go outside. I'm just going to let you know the outside is not that scary. It's not that dangerous, depending upon where you live. Go outside. Enjoy it. Despite the cold weather, winter can be quite a lovely season. So check it out. Do something that you just haven't done before. Again, I'm treading on old ground now, but I think you start to get the point. Do something for yourself. Do it just for you. So that's the first. So that's the second tip. The first tip, again, maintain a schedule. The second tip is take time for yourself. The third is take time to prep. Now, I know this sounds a little bit odd, taking care of yourself. That means you just completely abandon school and you forget about it. But I highly recommend that you do take time to prep. You should take time to prep for the next semester. Okay. Can you get a little ahead on lesson planning? Can you create your next test? What about maybe building a database of resources so that come February or March, you can actually dive into that when you're starting to hit that Q3 slump that always happens? Or is there a project that you have always wanted to do in your class, but you honestly have never felt you had the time to prepare for it? This is your time to do that. All right. So again, take that time to prep. But the key here is you want to limit your work time. Don't let your entire break be focused around that. Again, the goal of the break really is for you to rest and recover. But let me get into like what my typical winter break schedule looks like. So I'm going to split this up over weeks and then days. Week 1 is normally a lot of nothing. The first 4 days, typically starting on that Saturday, is I have absolutely no schedule at all. I allow myself to just have that time to wherever the wind carries me, I go and I take it and I just enjoy my life then and there. That's, again, like about the first 4 days. Now, the next 3 days, I split my time between reading, writing, and video games. I don't play video games as often as I used to. My early days of teaching, I was playing video games all break long, nonstop. I've got some great memories tied to just a number of different video games, and they always help me associate with wintertime, Skyrim being one of them. It's just that wintertime kind of game for me. But that's my time to catch up on some of those things that I just normally don't have time to do in the middle of the year. This is also the time that my wife and I kind of dive into a movie marathon. We typically either do the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, but we already watched that this year. We did it back in November. Oh my gosh, I love those movies. Or Harry Potter, which is probably the direction that we're headed. Obviously, Christmas falls somewhere in that first week, and you do the Christmas stuff. But week 2, that's when I start to actually focus in on work. Now, the first day or so, I work at the most an hour per day. And that's at like the way top end, 1 hour per day. And then I ramp it up slowly over the remaining 5 days, but honestly max it out at 2 to 3 hours per day. Again, 3 is like that rare where like if I'm just in that planning groove, I write it for a little bit, but then I stop at 3 hours because again, it's my time for break. It's my time for rest, like I always say. And then I just continue on, and then the break is over, and then you dive back into school, and life is life again. It helps you really ease back into the school year too, so you're not so jarred once you get back to work, actually. But throughout that week too, I naturally do the things that I enjoy, even on those working days. So for example, this break, I also plan to finish the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Phenomenal trilogy. I highly recommend it. I do not recommend it for younger kids. There are some inappropriate things in there, but the themes and ideas, sorry, I'm kind of rabbit trailing right now. But I plan to finish that, the third book. I probably have about 400 pages left in it. And then I also want to start Brandon Sanderson's Oathbringer. Again, another phenomenal series from the Stormlight Archive. Check both those books out. Check both those series out. I highly recommend them both. But also I plan on finishing a chapter or two of my own book that I'm writing. Now, this is my first winter break with a toddler. So that is definitely going to change things a lot. But last year, my little guy was still pretty young, and so he was taking longer naps, and it was easy to do a lot of things that I wanted to do back then. However, he is super active, so I'm definitely not going to get to everything that I want to do. But truth be told, that is parenthood, that is fatherhood, and I do love it. It's definitely not a waste of time to spend the day just having fun with your kids. So that's kind of what it looks like for me. So your homework. We all have our own ways of doing things, but your homework, honestly, live out that first step. All right. That first tip, schedule your break. All right. Have that clear timeline of like, what are the things you want to accomplish? What are the things you want to do? And then make sure you balance it between taking that time for yourself so you can rest and recover, and then preparing too, because you don't want to get so removed from the school year that it's just very jarring for you. Okay. That's your homework. So be sure to follow and like us on Facebook at Morning Prep Pod. We are creating a community there, and I want you to be a part of it. So if you have a question or an episode to suggest, you can send it in an email to morningpreppod@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment or on any of the videos or send me a message through Facebook as well. And all of those options are open. Again, I want to hear from you. We're building a community, so let's build this community together. So this was the Morning Prep Podcast. The bell is about to ring, so you go enjoy your break. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year.